Good morning. Happy New Year. It is January 1st, 2024, 11 a.m. on the East Coast. And this is Rob Sin at CEO Technician on X, at Goldfinger on CEO.ca, and at Goldfinger Capital on YouTube. So I'm getting around to doing the second year end lessons from 2023 and investing themes for 2024 video as promised. The first, episode was about 5 days ago. You can see that on my YouTube, video history. So we're getting into precious metals and biotech and medical psychedelics. So let's start with precious metals. And I feel like less needs to be said about this topic. Um, if you follow me, if you read my stuff, you probably understand, what I mean by that. I've written quite a bit, and this blog post from November 23rd has stood the test of time. Um, Everything written here is still relevant today. Gold was 1992 at the time I published this. It went to 2152 within 2 weeks. Ended the year at 2075, roughly. So gold has continued trending up since this was published in late November. And all of the key fundamentals and even technicals discussed in this remain relevant today, including seasonality, right? So, we had a good final month of 2023, kept the streak alive of strong final months of the year. And then we also are facing positive seasonality here as we enter January. Now, I'm much more convinced of the long-term bullish thesis for gold than I am sure of the exact path. So the exact price path to get there. I mean, to predict the price path is virtually impossible, right? But I have strong confidence that we're going to continue to see global central bank buying. I have very high confidence in 2024 we will see more global central bank easing. I am very confident in 2024 based upon the budget deficit and many other factors. We will continue to see a weakening US dollar. I am very confident we will see more de-dollarization globally. I'm very convinced that we are in a US fiscal crisis, national debt, budget deficits, debt to GDP, all of it. 2024 will be a year of fiscal crisis in the US. And, a little less confident of, the election chaos theme because it seems to be such a popular prediction. But sometimes the crowd gets it right, right? And I'm also very confident that we will continue to see high levels of war and geopolitical risk and resurgent investor demand for precious metals. So all of these fundamental factors are very bullish for gold, but I'm less sure of the path to get to $2,400, $2,500 gold, even $3,000 gold. I'm confident we will see those levels. I just don't know when, right? So just looking at the daily chart, I could totally see a consolidation, maybe a pullback to 2040, maybe even 2020 in the next week or two. We have jobs data this coming Friday. Non-farm payrolls report will be Friday the 5th. And that will be a big market mover, and just looking at the current market expectations for the Fed fund rate, it's a lot of easing is already priced in here. Just look at this: 2 rate cuts by May, 4 rate cuts by July, 6 to 7 rate cuts in 2024, and down near 3% by the end of 2025. So the market is very much factoring in a front-loaded rate cutting, easing cycle from the Fed. And there's some room for those expectations to get walked back a little bit. Now, I think it's fair to say that 6 rate cuts from the Fed in 2024 is a pretty reasonable forecast. But the one thing I know about year-end forecasts is that expect the unexpected. Markets, the world are unpredictable. There's a lot of variables at play here. But I am confident that we're going to see easing, that we're going to see a lot of rate cuts from the Fed and globally from central banks globally in 2024. And just the fact that this is an election year in the US, a big one, and the current favorite is somebody by the name of Donald Trump, leads me to believe that the Washington, crowd, the elite in DC are going to do everything they can to try to make things as window dressed as possible in the economy look as good as possible, stimulate the economy as much as possible to make sure that he doesn't win. But this is a very bullish slope of market expectations for the Fed funds rate for gold. And, looking back here, one of my black swans for 2024 is a mid-year rebound in inflation. So, what happens to gold if the Fed has cut 3 times by end of June and inflation starts to rebound as the Fed is promising more rate cuts with an election 4 to 5 months out, right? With some of these other factors that I've put here all in play. I mean, you could paint a very bullish picture for gold, and it seems reasonable to me that at some point in 2024 we could get a major overshoot in the gold price, sort of a blow off move that would have to then see a correction, and I don't know when, I don't know how it's going to be, but it could look something like gold goes up more than $100 an ounce in a few days on some of these factors suddenly really moving the market in a big way. And that would be probably a profit-taking opportunity for longs in both precious metals and maybe even mining stocks. But again, I'm just speculating. And the black swan, U.S. election doesn't go as planned. What happens to the country if somehow Trump is shut out from being a candidate? What does that do to the country? What does the election look like if it's some, Republican stooge candidate like, Nikki Haley that is put up against Biden or whoever else the Democrats find to, replace Biden? What happens if that leads to unrest and mass protests? I don't know. I'm just saying that it seems to me there's a lot of room for unrest and things to not go as planned. I think maybe 2020 was a trial run for things not going as planned and all the weirdness that happened then. But at the end of the day, if you're a gold investor, if you're a precious metals investor, the tailwinds are very strong as we enter 2024. And everything that I wrote here, on November 23rd, holds true, and I think it will continue to hold true, including this technical breakout that we are in the midst of. Okay, so one of the key triggers um, for gold in 2024 will be the dollar breaking down through its 200-week moving average, breaking down through the 100 level, and gold finally really confirming the breakout above 2100 in a powerful manner. Very clear, clean, powerful breakout above 2100. So entering the year, this is the dollar finds itself in a very interesting spot right near the 100 round number psychological level, 200-week moving average coming in right around 99 on the dollar index, and gold is just resting just under 2100. So there's room for some big moves in early January, and I would guess that the first move will be the wrong move. So whatever the knee-jerk movement is in these assets this coming week will probably be, we'll see a whipsaw, and that first knee-jerk response to the start of 2024 might actually be the wrong way. We've seen that quite a few times in the past. So very bullish on precious metals, very bullish on mining stocks entering 2024. And obviously, the topic of mining stocks is a more detailed, more nuanced topic that is not going to be delved into in a 10 or 15 minute video. It's going to take hours to really get through all of my thoughts on that topic. But I give it out little bits at a time every week. You get a little more of my insights and my thoughts on metals and mining. And actually, if you're on CEO.ca, I highly recommend you sign up. I'll post my stock picking contest ideas later today. So you'll see my three sort of stocks that I think could be 10 baggers in 2024, but obviously with a lot of risk. I mean, if I'm picking a stock in the stock picking contest, it's a micro cap. It's very speculative. It's at the exploration stage, very early stage, and it could be a 10x like Hercules Silver, but it could also drop 50% too, right? So, but I'll be posting those picks later today. So let's get into the meat of this video about biotech and medical psychedelics. So first of all, biotech and early stage biotech, biopharma companies that are doing trials, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 trials on drug candidates are very early stage, and they're not cash flow generating, right? So they're very affected by the cost of capital. So the Fed cutting interest rates aggressively will be a major tailwind for biotech and medical psychedelics. And actually, you can see what biotech has done just since the end of October. This is purely an inverse of the dollar and purely a move driven largely by Fed rate cut expectations. You can see this was the end of October, the dollar index down, the XBI biotech ETF straight up, right? So it's not more complicated than that, but there are a lot of other factors, fundamental factors that benefit a more specific biotech, biopharma sector, and that is medical psychedelic sector. So first of all, this is my site, medicalgold.ca, focused on biotech, early stage biotech, biopharma. And this was an article that I published on October 25th, Beyond the Bear, the Case for a Bright Horizon for Biotech in 2024. So if you look at October 25th, it's right here at the bottom. So this was a very well-timed piece You can see where we were. We're just literally one day up off the bottom. And I just laid out that we are in the third year of a brutal bear market, and we were about to transition back into a bullish phase for the biotech sector. The bear market was drawing to a close in October 2023. And based upon the price action since then, that looks to be 100% spot on, a 40% rally off the lows. And just look to the left on the chart, you can say, well, this is a higher low that we just put in place. So here's your bear market. Actually, a 4-year. Let's go 4 years. Yeah. So started in early 2021, climaxed summer of 2022, got a little bounce, but then retested those lows just in October. And here we are. Look to the left, resistance. So the XBI biotech ETF has big resistance around the 92 level. So just from a technical standpoint, this is a chart to watch, but with a very high probability, I think this is the bear market bottom has been hammered out here in the XBI. And it'll just be a matter of time before it breaks out above 92. We might need to pull back a little bit in early 2024. I wouldn't be upset if that happened. But I laid out a bunch of the reasons why I felt biotech was set to have a big bull move in 2024, including the amount of cash sitting on the balance sheets of large biopharma companies. And that's exactly what happened. So this is an article I published last week, December 29th. 3 small cap biotech stocks poised for big moves in 2024. And here you can see I lay out this bottom call and then talk about some of the M&A that has taken place in biotech. BMY, $14 billion acquisition of Karuna Therapeutics, $43 billion Pfizer Seagen deal passed the FTC scrutiny, and AbbVie nabs Horizon for $10.1 billion. And we're likely to see a continued wave of M&A deals in 2024. So in this year-end article, I focus on small caps, much smaller companies moving down the food chain than the companies that are in the XBI. And we start with Allakos, ALLK. Actually, there was the last company in the article, but you can read it for yourself. 2 phase 2 trials expected to get the readouts from these 2 trials in early 2024. And the company has almost 200 billion in cash, which is almost the same as its market cap of 235 million. Also potential for a short squeeze here, 6% short interest, which is 4.3 days to cover. So ALLK would probably be my number 3 of these 3 in terms of conviction, but it's still a very interesting one. ATAI, ATAI, this is getting into medical psychedelics, ATAI. So a few things about ATAI. Insider buying from the CEO and co-founder in the last few months, which is something that we haven't really seen much of in the medical psychedelic space. I think that's a very positive sign. And one of ATAI's drug candidates has to do with MDMA. And MDMA is going to be a big story in 2024 with the FDA approval of MDMA for the treatment of PTSD. So we could get a phase 1, results of this EMP-01 in January. And also, this company has over $200 million in cash. It's in a position of strength entering 2024. And then the number 1 pick, the company that I've talked about quite a few times in these videos, is Cybin. And, why do I like Cybin? There's a lot of reasons why I like Cybin. The first reason, let's look at the chart. It's been forming support near this 40 cent level. So they had phase 2 data, readouts in October and November. The stock had some pretty wild moves on that data, and then profit taking dropped it back down. Also, Cybin raised money in November. They raised quite a bit of money uh, in two tranches, 30 million and then 34 million. So 64 million in total raised by the company in November, and obviously that weighed on the share price because it was trading above 70 cents briefly, but then they did a 45 cent financing for $30 million. So it's consolidated just a little bit under that financing price into year end. So I think it's a pretty attractive value here. It's a pretty attractive place on the chart. It's just sitting right here on this 200-day moving average near the 40 cent level. And also the company is very well funded. So after that raise, they have plenty of cash to uh, finance all of their drug trials that they'll be carrying out throughout 2024. So Cybin is obviously named for, psilocybin, which is magic mushrooms. The most advanced drug candidate they have is CYB003. And one of the big catalysts in early 2024 will be the end of phase 2 meeting with the FDA for CYB003, and then the commencement of the phase 3 study anticipated to begin by the end of Q1. So by the end of March, they will be beginning the phase 3 trial for CYB003. So that's a very big milestone for an early stage biotech company to get a drug advanced to phase 3. The probability of success and FDA approval jumps substantially between phase 2 and phase 3. So that's a very big catalyst that's just on the horizon that could lead to some re-rating in Cybin's share price. Another reason why I like this company is DMT, the God molecule. Let's go to the Cybin. Cybin. Well, let's start with this interview. So I did this interview with Doug Drysdale, the CEO of Cybin, in November, and it was pretty in depth. I'll be speaking with him again next week, and I'll publish that as well. And in this interview, he says, I think the deuterated, DMT has the potential to be the gold standard. We're seeing a 40-minute experience from a single injection, so it's very scalable. We've seen great proof of concept data from small pharma with their phase 1 trial of DMT. Tremendous results, 40%, remission, 6 months after 1 or 2 doses of DMT, just regular. So not the CYB004 version that Cybin has, but just DMT. 40% remission from MDD, 6 months after 1 or 2 doses of DMT. That is shocking positive results. I mean, people are taking, these SSRIs daily, and the results are not even as good often as 2 doses of DMT. And the SSRIs have big side effects. I mean, I have friends who are on this. They report lack of sex drive, difficulty orgasming. For men, it's tough to get it up. I mean, obviously you could take, Viagra for that, but then you're just taking all these pills to just have your body function the way it should normally. Insomnia is a big one, drowsiness, headache. I mean, the side effects of the SSRIs are significant, very substantial side effects. So the fact that there is a possibility that we could have a drug basically harnessed from Mother Nature that could have 40 to 50% remission results from one or two doses is powerful. And then he says, so talking about Cybin's version. So just a little background here. There's a lot of information. You're going to have to learn about this on your own if you're interested. But they acquired Small Pharma earlier this year after Small Pharma had completed this SPL 026 study to study the drug interactions between DMT and the SSRIs. The data was overwhelmingly positive. No side effects, no contra, indications, between DMT and the SSRIs. And this is set up now for Cybin to announce its own data from its CYB004 and the SPL, I believe it's 028. So we're going to get a lot of data regarding DMT, the DMT franchise that Cybin now completely dominates, with 33 granted patents and 170 pending patents. Okay. And again, please read this article on your own because I'm not going to go over it all in this video. November 16th, medicalgold.ca, Doug Drysdale on Cybin psychedelic breakthrough in mental health. This is a great interview. And I'm very excited about CYB003, but I'm just as excited on the DMT side of it. And the fact he says, I think the deuterated DMT has the potential to be the gold standard. So he's hinting that DMT and Cybin's drug candidates could be potentially the best in terms of scalability, in terms of a relatively fast experience, 40 minutes, with limited or no side effects and strong efficacy. This is exciting stuff, okay? Now, just look at Cybin's deck. They have a lot of great info here. And this is the size of the opportunity. 1 billion people have a mental health condition. 1 in 5 US adults experience mental illness each year. More than 800,000 suicide deaths globally every year. Okay, a lot of data. So mental health is a huge opportunity. It's a huge industry. It's a huge problem. And all we use right now are the SSRIs, basically. And side effects, weight gain, sexual dysfunction, insomnia. These are very real side effects, and I've seen them with people in my life, friends, okay? Yeah, so just great slide deck. And now here is sort of the timelines of what's going on. Here's the CYB004 dosing complete part C. So we're going to get this data really soon, okay, for this phase 1. Here's the injectable DMT. This is active, so we'll get this probably shortly after CYB004. So these are catalysts that are imminent. And then, as I laid out at the start of talking about Cybin, we're going to get the end of phase 2 data and meeting with the FDA in Q1, and then the commencement, hopefully, of CYB003 phase 3, psilocybin for MDD by the end of Q1. Okay, so powerful stuff. $168 million market cap for a company that potentially has the keys to revolutionizing mental health treatments and therapy. Yes, there is some competition in this space. One of the competitors is Compass. You can see how well this stock is traded. I'm not going to go into Compass, but they're in phase 3 for psilocybin. And what else did I want to say? MindMed. MindMed is another one. So these are like the big four in medical psychedelics: Cybin, MindMed, Compass Pathways, and ATAI Life Sciences. They all have their own different angle and different set of IP patents and pending patents. And I've researched all of them. And based upon my assessments, the biggest opportunity, I think they have the strongest likelihood of getting multiple drugs through FDA approval over the next 5, 6, 7 years is Cybin. But all four of them have their own IP, their own franchises, and their own angles on treating the mental health needs of 2024 and beyond, right? So they could all be big winners in their own right. I just like Cybin a little bit more for a number of reasons, including the fact that Steve Cohen's Point 72 family office fund took a nearly 10% stake in Cybin. And I think we'll learn more about that. We'll learn more about who are some of the players who participated in this big financing in November. A lot of potential catalysts, a lot of information coming out from Cybin in Q1 2024. But basically, you need to figure out for yourself, what do you think the probability is of CYB003 or CYB004 getting FDA approval 4, 5, 6 years down the line? And then how much would those drugs be worth? What could the potential annual revenues be from those approved drug candidates, right? And I've done my work, and I think it's more than the current market cap. And it could possibly be substantially more, like many multiples more than the current market cap. But obviously, there is risk. Drug candidates fail in the FDA trial process. They can fail at phase 2. They can even fail at phase 3. Yeah, so there's not without risk. And again, all of these companies need funding regularly to continue to advance their drug platforms. Just going through some of these bullet points, medical psychedelics are at a more mature stage than they were a couple of years ago. Obviously, back in 2021, the sector was very, very young. Let's just take a look at a weekly chart of MindMed to give you an idea of just how young this sector was a few years ago. Look at the drop, right? So the performance of these companies since early 2020, since 2021, has been nothing short of dreadful. So that's the past that happened. The valuations were clearly too high. They were way too early stage to maintain the market's attention during the last couple of years. There's been a lot of consolidation in this subsector, this tiny biotech subsector, a lot of consolidation in the last couple of years, including Cybin acquiring small pharma, right? And I think this was nothing short of a genius move on Cybin's part. They paid a very small price to basically dominate the DMT side of the medical psychedelic sector. But now the valuations across the sector are much more reasonable and offer the potential for a lot of upside. MindMed is barely over 100 million. We saw Cybin is 168 million. ATAI is 234 million. And Compass is the big boy on the block at 541 million. The reason why Compass has a $541 million market cap is they have the furthest advanced drug candidate. They are well into phase 3. Okay, so this is the opportunity that CYB003 has for Cybin. That would be about a 3x from today for Cybin to get to Compass's market cap. Obviously, they're different, and that's a very complex and in-depth conversation. but I think that's also where the opportunity is. And that is why I am a shareholder of Cybin today. So it's an opportunity to transform mental health care in an increasingly mentally ill world. Frankly, it's a growth industry, as sad as that is to say. Um, and it's an opportunity to increase the effectiveness of mental health treatments with far fewer side effects than what we're seeing with, you know, all the SSRIs out there on the market. And then obviously just like the benzos, like if you have anxiety, the doctor gives you Xanax. And there's major side effects to becoming addicted to Xanax. Okay. Again, this is not mental. This is not mental health advice. This is not medical advice. I'm not a doctor, but yeah, just read about it for yourself. Okay. Major side effects to the current mental health treatments that doctors give out to patients regularly. This is the opportunity to disrupt all of it, to transform it, and to do good for the patients while making some money, hopefully, for shareholders that have had a rough ride the last couple of years in a lot of these stocks, right? So that's my pitch, my full presentation for why I believe biotech and medical psychedelics are set for a powerful 2024 and potentially a profitable one for investors. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, if you found value in it, if you enjoy it, please share it with friends. Please hit the like button and subscribe at Goldfinger Capital, and have a powerful trading week and a healthy and prosperous 2024.